Okay. As per the council procedure bylaw, Mayor Beach has given notice that she is unable to attend this evening. Therefore, as acting mayor and acting as chair, is there any dissent? Okay. Hearing none, I call to order the regular council meeting of Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. I'd like to take a moment to observe a moment of silence. Let us remember the lives of the two young members of our community who are no longer with us and are now in God's kingdom. Thank you. I'll now move on. We take this moment to recognize the history of this land and the contributions of those who came before us. Let us acknowledge our ancestors and elders so we may be guided by their wisdom. Let us acknowledge that, as treaty people, we walk together with our neighbors and community members into the future. Let us consider those who came before us, those who we currently serve, and those who are yet to come in our actions and in our decisions, so that our community and the peace country will become everything we hope it to be. Moving on, adoption of agenda 3.1.
I'll second it. The council adopt the agenda.
If I could have the motion read.
I motion that council approve the agenda dated June 10th, 2026.
Okay, all right. Wall moves, Woodill seconds. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Okay. 4.1, adoption of minutes. For 4.1, May 27th, 2026, regular council meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion that council approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, recognizing Councillor Wool moves, Woodill seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Introduction of late items, none. Public hearings, none. Delegations, none. 8, unfinished business and business arising from the minutes, none. 9, new business, 9.1.
The council authorized the village of Pouce Coupe to enter into a renewed memorandum of understanding with the Peace River Regional District for financial contributions towards the operating and maintenance costs of the Pouce Coupe Riverview Cemetery for a 5-year term.
I believe there's another piece to that motion.
And that the chief administrative officer be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the village. My apologies.
Still second that.
Okay, recognizing Wall moves, Woodill seconds. Discussion. Speaking to this, I appreciate that the Peace River Regional District to continue with this. It's $1,500 a year. We've been in it for 5 years. I'd like to see this continue. Any further discussion? Seeing none, calling the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion carries unanimously. 9.2, mutual aid agreement.
Option 1, that council endorses the Peace River Regional Major Events Mutual Aid Agreement and authorizes the mayor and chief administration officer to execute the agreement on behalf of the village of Pouce Coupe.
Second.
Seeing a move by Woodill, second by Wall. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. 9.3, policy development and review, June 2026.
The council adopt policy 3.1, purchasing and procurement as presented.
Second.
Seeing Wall move, Woodill second. Discussion. Recognizing Councillor Wall.
I just want to confirm with staff here that this is not a new policy, it is an amended policy to comply with new legislation.
Recognizing staff.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, that's correct. This is a part of the policy review program that Jimmy's been working on diligently. And there's a few updates in here there's a buy local provision that's included in here, where all other applicable requirements of the purchasing policy is met. We're recommending that there be kind of a policy objective included in the purchasing policy for, staff to make sure that it's trying to utilize local vendors. There's permission granted in here for master service agreements. Again, the village has had a master service agreement in place with its engineering vendor for, I think, 6 months now. But this is basically giving permission for, or kind of encapsulating that process. There's also requirements for staff to report any conflicts of interest that they might find themselves in if there is a purchasing scenario that comes across their desk. And there's also increased ethical obligations, for staff to make sure that they're, just being proactive and, disclosing things where there might be a close relationship, or there might be, other interests that, may influence their decision-making process on a purchase. So a little bit of, a higher, threshold, or a little bit of a higher obligation for staff to, buy things. And, we're trying to throw some values and some policy statements in here, or recommending some policy statements in here that we think encapsulate or cover the village's current practices. So just bringing it into practice with what we currently do.
Thank you.
Councillor Whittle, I saw your hand.
Nope, I'm good. Councillor Wall asked what I was going to, so.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. I appreciate staff's time on this. I appreciate Duncan and Jimmy's time on this, and if you were involved as well, I appreciate your time as well. This is wonderful, and thank you, folks. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. On to 9.4, Hart Hotel hazardous material.
The council authorized staff to proceed with the hazardous material survey provided by Ab Ventures Limited for the former Hart Hotel at a contingency stuff. Thank you. Contingency of up to $4,000 for additional assessment requirements or for unforeseen conditions identified during this survey.
Okay, moved Councillor Whittle, second Councillor Wall. Discussion.
Through you, Chair, staff. Regarding the hazardous materials assessment here, is this required for us to do remediation or demolition, whatever? Because we haven't decided which route we're going here. So are we required to do this, to do either of those paths?
Recognizing staff.
Through the chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good question, Councillor Wall. This has been identified as a preliminary or a needed step for any of the redevelopment options that are, present, for council with the Hart Hotel site. Scenario one is, council put out an expression of interest last fall to see if there was private interest in redevelopment of the site. That process did not have, any formal interest expressed, even though there was some kind of informal, lack of better words, tire kicking. The hope is that in the first scenario that the performance of this survey might help reduce risk and create a little bit of clarity for folks that are interested in the property. Option number two, and therefore make it more attractive for redevelopment. Option number two would be a demolition, scenario where there could be, this would be a needed step, in order for the village to, proceed, in that direction. Again, not presuming that that's not a decision that's in front of council tonight. This is identified as a, preliminary step to kind of move along in the process. Or step number three, a village initiated refurbishment or, fix up of the site, could, this would be an important step as well because of some of the conditions that have been identified by staff since the building has come into the village's possession. So in any of those three options that we can foresee, we think this will be a necessary piece of work to do. And it's it'll provide a lot of clarity and is a concrete step to getting us there. So thank you.
Councillor Whittle.
So from my understanding as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Melkinson, the additional $4,000 that we're topping this up for is due to the fact we've had to spend a little extra money on the building. So there was about $12,000 roughly budgeted for this. So this is just to top us up and give us a little bit of a buffer. And also, I imagine this assessment is also required if we're going to have employees going in the building to do any kind of assessments or remove any historical stuff or that kind of stuff. Having this done in place before we start allowing staff to go and remove the historical stuff from the museum and that kind of stuff for their safety, this also probably should be done as well, right?
Recognizing staff.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Councillor Whittle, you nailed it. If the envelope of the building is going to be disturbed, this is necessary work. So yeah, that's been another, the identification or the identifying of items that have cultural or historic value to the village has been, mentioned to the village previously. So yeah, this would be a great step to, give good latitude or to, make sure that we were being, smart about how we go about and do that. And with respect to the budget, yeah, there were some extra costs that were incurred in securing the property this year. And basically that's what that contingency is referring to.
Recognizing Councillor Wall.
I was going to ask about budget contingencies, but Mr. Malkinson just answered that, so we're good.
So to clarify, there's no need for a budget amendment, that the approximately 12,000 plus 4,000 equaling 16,000 is covered within the current budget constraints?
That's correct. We'll contain the costs identified here. The resolution will provide, permission for the village to, move forward with this work on the interim. Staff will continue to monitor the department budget overall and make sure that it's tracking well to the end of the year. And, obviously, our hope is that things will shape up quite nicely and no amendment will be necessary, but it's something we'll continue to watch.
Any further discussion? Any further additions from staff?
No, just thank you. This is if you folks vote for this, again, I'm not trying to sell you or anything like that, but if you folks do proceed with this is another step in a particularly tricky situation for the village. So it's a positive step in the right direction, no matter what way council decides to eventually go.
Seeing no further discussion, I call the question. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. 9.5, budget variance report. Move for information. Okay, recognize Councillor Whittle seconding it. I so move it. I refer to staff for clarification about this. I believe this was submitted by the CFO for council's review and information.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. There were three items that the CFO wanted to know. Josh sends his regrets for not being able to attend this evening. He had a conflicting appointment for a provincial board that he's on. But yeah, he wanted to note on the variance report that the Parks, Rec, and Culture expenses are tracking, higher than, what would be apportioned evenly through the year, in part because the disbursements to the library and the museum have been made. So it's, basically a front-loaded budget line. Water services expense is up in part, because of the water line break that happened earlier this year. And sewer services expenses are up, and that's due to the outflow meter replacement that happened at the lagoon earlier this year. So both those things or all three of those items are tracking fairly well. When Josh and I were talking about this, he didn't, leave me with the sense that he was especially worried about either of those three lines, but he felt like they were notable and wanted to make sure there was special mention of them at the meeting. So,
discussion, Councillor Wall.
I like the report. I appreciate the note on those three. I'd also like to note that in some of the other budget lines, it appears we are coming in below budget as well.
Response from staff.
I only looked at the bad stuff. No.
Fair. We're doing well on some other ends, so I just want to highlight that.
There are some items where, and it's a bit of an art sometimes too, right? Like council does give, the way I frame it with a lot of the staff is that, council gives a lot of trust and gives a lot of resources to the village. And in exchange for that trust, there's an expectation that we'll deliver on the projects the council has in their strategic plan or the projects that they've identified through resolution. And sometimes, there can be prudence, reflected in low numbers or low year-to-date numbers. And then in other respects, it's like, we got to get our butts in gear and, get going on some of these things. So there's a couple of different, ways to look at it. But, in large part on the project front, there are some items that we're making good progress on and getting procurement documents out for. And we'll continue to do that over the next couple of weeks.
Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing as that's for information, there's no need to move on this, I believe. Accept it for information. Okay, so I so move to accept for information. Seconded by Councillor Whittle. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. All right, 9.6, Transportation Master and Capital Improvement Plan Scope of Work.
The council approved the Transportation, Roads, and Sidewalks Capital Improvement Plan Scope of Work as presented. Second.
Okay, moved by Councillor Wall, seconded by Councillor Whittle, recognizing Councillor Wall.
I would like to motion to make a minor amendment under point 4 on the first page. It's like not 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like 4 dots.
Like the scope of work?
Under the scope of work objectives.
Pedestrian safety?
Yes. The line that starts with improved pedestrian safety, roadway access, and transportation connections. I would also like that to say, as well as determine locations for permanent speed bumps or traffic calming measures.
Okay, do I have a seconder on that motion? Second Whittle, discussion on the amendment. Has that not been mentioned elsewhere in the scope of work, adding in the traffic? Sorry, would you be able to clarify as to what your amendment was?
It reads improve pedestrian safety, road access, transportation connections, and identify future speed bump locations as well as traffic calming measures, or something like that. I'll leave it to staff to get the wording exactly right. I think the point I'm getting across here is quite plain.
Okay, and identify locations for speed bump and traffic calming.
Yeah, because at a previous council meeting, we did have the conversation about putting in speed bumps permanently around our 30-kilometer-an-hour school zones and routes that people may try to bypass the highway through. So I'd like to see that move forward as part of this one.
Okay, recognizing Councillor Whittle.
I guess to staff too, with that is also, if we're going to look at putting permanent speed bumps in, also consult with Public Works to make sure that it's not going to damage our equipment or damage the roadways anymore, cause long-term damage, right?
Okay,
Last thing we want to do is damage our infrastructure any worse and cost us more money, but we also need to make it safe, so making sure that we have a nice balance between the two.
And to staff, will Public Works be consulted during the process of this plan? In regards?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Abel. So I appreciate the amendment. I certainly no objections from staff on that. We do have, the motion from the last meeting is definitely being incorporated into the project itself, and will be referenced as we go through the project development process. With respect to consultation with Public Works, we do have a team. It's not super fleshed out in this report, quite yet. We don't have the project charter built, but the team preliminarily for the development of this plan will be the fire department, it'll be Public Works, it'll be Taya Cand, the report author, myself, and Trina from the finance department has expressed interest, which is great as well. So we'll basically have a team that's kind of reviewing a lot of these studies that have been identified, and going through a number of the other methods that are identified in the report to, get something together for you folks that's actionable.
Is there discussion on the amendment? Recognizing Councillor Wall.
The reason I wanted it worded this specific way, or in that style anyways, is because I'm not sure if permanent speed bumps are the be-all end-all solution, especially in the winter months, those sorts of things. So I like the word traffic calming measures, permanent traffic calming measures. We can look at locations that speed bumps may work, and if they don't work, there may be other solutions that staff could find.
Like plant a tree in the middle of the road, slows everybody down.
That would slow everybody down. See, like that, like planting trees in the middle of the road. See you Saturday.
Tell them the block will.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, my understanding as it stands is to amend point 4 for the addition of and identify locations for speed bumps and permanent traffic calming members. Am I correct? Measures. All right, perfect. So, be that as it may, calling the question, all those in favor of the amendment? There we go. All those opposed? Seeing none, the amendment carries. Back into the original motion on the Transportation Master and Capital Improvement Plan scope of work. Any further discussion on this item? Okay. Any further additions from staff?
No, just thank you. We're going to be excited to get into this once we have a little bit more data on the capital improvement plans for water and sewer. And I know there's a lot of excitement to get into it. So yeah, this is the start of the process.
Okay. I appreciate that. And the other piece too is my understanding is there's no need for additional budget, that this will be carried through additional budget lines. Am I correct in that understanding?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. We did basically scope this report and we scoped this approach to, it was basically a question of what can we do with what we have. There's a little bit of unused grant funding that we feel is eligible to get a little bit of engineering expertise, but primarily the preparation for this will be done in-house. So unconventional, perhaps, approach, but we're hoping that it'll be a made in Poos kind of solution.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, calling the question, all those in favor? Any opposition? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. 10, correspondence. 10.1. NTHS Heritage Auto Tour in request for support. Moved by Councillor Wall. Oh,
You moved it. I said.
Okay, I so move it. I recognize Councillor Wall seconding. Discussion. Recognizing Councillor Wall.
I know it's a $500 cost to the village, which I know budgets are tight, but the $500 goes a long ways for the doors open anyways. Even though our doors are, I want to point out that our doors are open at the museum every day, and it's free for people to go. So, however, what this $500 does is it adds it to that Destination BC brochure and the Tourism BC brochures. So when American tourists or tourists from down south or Alberta, whatever, they come through and they stop in Poos, we accidentally didn't do this last year, we did 2 years ago. And the years that it's been done, their donation numbers have been higher than in years that haven't. So I think it'd be important for us to do this because we provide a budget, the museum provides their budget to us that we fund based on those donation numbers. And the donation numbers offset greater than the $500 cost to be added to this program.
Councillor Whittle?
Yeah, so I've seen like in the correspondence and was chatting with Councillor Rabel earlier, and the initial letter came out on the 14th of last month. So it was a month ago that they reached out asking for us. And from what I've seen with the information that they sent to us in this package, is most of this is already published and done. So is it one of those things where we're a little late on the ball this year, but we can have staff watch for next year?
Recognizing staff?
Councillor Whittle, good. I appreciate your reflection on that. We did see this letter, and one fault or another, it ended up getting to you guys later than we desired. Like it was basically just after the 27th there that we were saying, oh shoot, we saw that this had come in, etc. Anyhow, we did reach out to the organizers and we said, hey, is there still an opportunity to participate? And they did advise basically that they would do dedicated print run, with the promotional considerations that are offered with Poos, if you folks were still interested, or if council was still interested. So yes, Councillor Whittle is correct in the sense that a number of these events have already taken place. But we did confirm with the organizers that the promotional option is still there. And my apologies too for missing the email there. Too many emails.
Recognizing Councillor Will.
Alright, so I'm gonna sound like the Grinch in the room, but at the end of the day, we set our budget for the museum. That includes their operations, their promotion, and everything else. We set our budget for the rest of the village. We didn't leave, especially this year, we didn't leave a whole lot of extra wiggle room on that budget. As much as I think this would be a great thing for the village, I think we need to maybe look at planning so that we're on the ball for next year, so we get that full bang out of our buck for the $500. But it's one of those things we haven't discussed with the museum board about this, right? Just because of the timing of it. So we haven't discussed with the museum board about it, and also what's the budget impact? I know it's $500, it's not huge in the big scheme of things, but throughout the year we get a lot of these little $500, $200 things popping up, and by the end of the year, $500 here, $500 there leads into a couple thousand here and a couple thousand there, right? So that's my concern is how's it going to impact if we were to move forward with it this year, how would that impact our budget? And then I imagine for next year we can budget accordingly. But for this year, how is that going to impact our budget lines? And is it worth, now that we're a little behind the 8 ball on it, is it worth the full cost when we're missing out on a portion of the benefit, right?
So my understanding is this would be pulled from council discretionary spending, which I believe through staff, we do have room in. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yeah, there is room or unspent amounts in the council discretionary or council contingency lines. So there is an option there. Again, you folks do regularly, utilize that, I think, at a few points in the year. So, this is something, it's something to consider in context with the other requests that you might receive later on, for sure. So,
if I may, folks, we have either we need to bring this to the museum board, or we need to make a decision to authorize spending either $250 or $500. I think we can understand that those are the decisions before us, or to do nothing whatsoever. I recognize Councillor Wall.
So I'm not on the museum board, I'm not the museum liaison anymore, but when I was for I think 2 years of this term. The museum board was always very excited to be a part of this program, because it ends up, when you look up things to do, when you go online and you look at Peace Country, whatever, I'm on my way to Alaska, it shows the Poo Scoopy Museum. And even if we spend the $500 and it brings in another $3,000 or $4,000 in donations, even though that's $500 out of this year's budget, that's $3,000 or $4,000 the taxpayers are not putting into next year's museum budget, because they roll that over. So I do think that this will generate more, because if you go on those tourism advertisements and you think like a tourist driving through, more people will see that, they'll stop, they'll come to our museum and they'll donate some money.
Councillor Whittle.
And you mentioned there's a $250 option as well.
I am frankly a little confused and uncertain as to what the 250. It seems like the 250 is for local and the 500 is for regional. However, the dispersal and the advertising of this would be regional. Recognizing Councillor Wall.
So previously, I'm not sure if it's the same as it was last year. Last year it wasn't done. Previous 2 years it was. There was a local option, which would be, we would have our brochures. They print our brochures. It would be like the North Peace Museum and Hudson's Hope and all those. And the other one is for more international, interprovincial advertisement as part of that destination BC.
Councillor Whittle.
Well, I think, thank you to the councillors for explaining this, and, I do think it would be a benefit to the region. It is, it's a shame that we're a little late on the 8 ball, but, life happens. Is this something staff can budget for next year, so that we can include this with the museum's budget where we're in our promotional stuff, so that it's already incorporated into our budget?
Recognizing
for next year?
Yeah, we sure could. Yeah, we could flag this for the budget process this fall and say, and flag it for the consideration of the museum's budget, where if a certain request is made, that we can, either identify that to the museum or, mention it in context to the approval of their budget for next year. Like that's an option too.
So I know this is egregious, because I'm gonna make the assumption that we're sitting in a motion of discussion. So I'd like to move that we direct staff to include the consideration of funding for the Northern Heritage Trail Society Doors Open program in the 2027 budgeting process. Seconded by Councillor Woodall. Discussion? Staff, is that a tangible piece? Is that a supportive motion?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm here to help, and we'll do our best to flag it in the budget process.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of staff considering this in the 27 budget? Okay. All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Back to the motion of discussion about this situation.
I have one thing to.
Okay, I recognize Councillor Wall.
So I believe the reason this is coming to us instead of the museum board is because this is technically considered like municipal advertisement. So it used to go, because the 1 year went to the museum and they were trying to deal with it, but it's promoting the community instead of just promoting the museum, because they're not technically the tourist information thing anymore. Like they're not the tourist information.
Yeah.
Stuff. They don't have the little eye symbol for the whatever. So it comes to us. No.
So considering the potential benefits for this tourist season for the community, and that we still have the opportunity to jump on board with this, I propose the motion that council authorize funds up to $500 in support of the Northern Heritage Trails Historical Society Doors Open Summer 2026 program to be utilized from ideally the council discretionary budget line. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Wall. Discussion. Seeing discussion. Okay, fair. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. All right. 10.2 letter of support exempting local governments from expanded provincial sales tax. I'm just going to speak to this briefly. This is essentially a piece of information. I do appreciate the City of Dawson Creek sending us a letter of support for our resolution regarding our opposition to the expanded provincial sales tax. So I'd like to thank the City of Dawson Creek. Does anyone have any further comments to this point? Councillor Wall?
Very briefly, for those of you watching at home, basically the province is adding PST to municipal services, which will be reflected in property tax, is what they want to do. So it's tax on a tax, and that's why we're opposing it. I'm glad we're seeing some support.
Well, that on top of they're taking away the northern.
And they're taking away the Northern Homeowners Grant, if you can believe that too.
A reduction of $200 on that.
That's going to hit tax bills in 2027, exactly.
Well, I'm not impressed. I don't want to keep talking about it or I'll get angry.
Any further discussion on item 10.2? Thank you to the City of Dawson Creek. Your support is appreciated. 10.3, World Invitation. It's an invitation to the Gold Panning Championship happening July 31st to August 2nd, 2026 at Peace Island Park. This is an event that goes on annually, and it's a wonderful local event. Does anyone have any comments to this item?
We received 10.3 for information.
Yeah, I do apologize. I should have, I so move that we accept 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3 for information. Okay, seconded by Councillor Woodall. Discussion on accepting these items for information. I know that's pretty clunky. I apologize, folks. Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor of accepting 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3 for information? All those in favor? Perfect. All those opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously to accept them as information. All right. 11, resolutions, none. 12, bylaws, none. 13, administration reports. 13.1, public work report. I so move that we accept this for information. Second by Councillor Woodall. Discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none. Motion carries. Thank you, Public Works. 13.2, Fire Department report. Moving to accept for information. Second by Councillor Woodall. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Do we have a staff report that wishes to occur? Recognizing
Yeah,
staff.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. We have, Ty has been working with the Chamber of Commerce, like the Dawson Creek and District Chamber of Commerce, to organize a chamber luncheon to promote some village, programs or business-related programs, and to try to, talk up some of the cool things about doing business in Poos. So she's, I think, agreed on a tentative date of June 24th for that. So mark your calendars. We'll be getting the word out over the next couple of, days and weeks to, make sure that folks are feeling welcome to join in. It'll probably just be, some light snacks, light refreshments, about some, positive programs or positive things that we're, trying to run about doing business in Poos. On Saturday, I understand that we're going to be getting a couple of volunteers to help plant some trees in the village, which is kind of fun. I hope, folks feel welcome, or rather that council feels welcome to join in for that. Just wanted to keep that on your agendas or your radars. And then, as well, there's also been some, as mentioned by yourself, Chair Rabel at the top, there's been obviously a tragic, situation in the community recently with, the passing of a couple of, younger members of our community. Because of the, unique nature of the tragedy, Mayor Veach has seen fit to purchase a couple of flower bouquets for the departed. And basically, I just was trying to, me being the rule follower that I am, and not wanting to be a barrier, was saying, okay, well, let's check the policies, etc. Didn't seem, crystal clear to me that there was permission, from village policies to do that. But basically, I just wanted to, see if council was prepared to move a motion to offset the cost of those flowers. So that was 2 bouquets at $50 each, totaling $100. So I'm not sure if that's a conversation for perhaps a little bit later on, or whether or not that's something that council feels prepared to consider at this point. But just wanted to put it on your radar nonetheless.
Okay. Recognizing Councillor Whittle.
Yeah, for that, Mr. Melkinson, I'll personally cover half the cost of that and keep that out of the villages.
Yeah, I'll cover,
Understood.
I'll cover the other half.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
There's no need for a motion then, based off of that. Thank you, folks.
Well, the village could organize it.
Yeah, village can organize it on behalf of the village, but we'll cover it personally.
Okay. Okay. There's no
Well,
need.
due to the time sensitivity, I did order them like earlier today, just out of my own pocket, and the notion being that, like, if something does, come up with them, or, if council's, inclined to, contribute themselves towards it, just that they would be ready to go. So they're, it's very, very generous of you to offer, and I myself, I'm happy to match your commitment there. So problem solved, I suppose.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Recognizing Councillor Wall.
On that point, it was something I was going to bring up in my report, but I feel more appropriate bringing it up now, is I believe, it's a question and then maybe a motion. Would there be, in our flag policy, any issue lowering the flags on Friday while the...
So my okay, so what I'm interpreting Councillor Wall is asking is, as there's a funeral taking place this Friday, because of the tragic loss of lives here. As per flag policy, the mayor or council can make a decision as to lower the flags for an event that's occurring. Recognizing Councillor Wall, or Whittle, sorry.
So to my understanding, with the flag policy, when it comes to the Village of Poos Koopy flag, we can do whatever we want with it, and I think it might be appropriate to look at lowering that on Friday. When it comes to the provincial flag and the Canadian flag, that's more provincial or federal, right? And according to our policy, we kind of follow what the federal and provincial governments do for their mourning. But for the Village of Poos Koopy flag, I don't see it being an issue. It's well within our flag policy to lower the village's flag in honor of the members of our community.
Recognizing Councillor Wall.
I have a motion then, that the village lower the flags within its means of lowering, like within its capabilities, within its
Yeah, policy.
Yeah, so the village lower the flags that it's allowed to lower on Friday for the procession of the departed.
Friday.
And Saturday.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday.
June 12th and 13th, 2026, as amended.
Maybe Sunday too. So then the staff.
Well, just take them down for the weekend, put them down Friday, bring them back up Monday.
Yeah,
Okay.
down Friday, back up Monday.
Okay, so the motion as seen is that staff lower the flags as per the flag policy, commencing on June 12th, 2026, and being raised on Monday the 14th? 14th?
15th.
Whatever the Monday is, 2026. Staff, is that within ability?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Oh, sorry, I apologize. It seems as though Councillor Wall has proposed this motion. I provided an amendment. Do you?
It's a friendly amendment.
Okay, I seconded it. I proposed an amendment. You're okay with it? Anyways, let's just deal with the whole motion as is presented. Any further discussion?
Does staff understand what we're trying to do? Flags down Friday, back up Monday?
Recognizing
We're
staff.
just talking about the Pooskoopi flag, correct?
Whatever flags we're allowed to lower.
If we're allowed to lower other flags, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Councillor Will?
Yeah, because as far as I recall from
Understood. Thank you.
from the policy, we can do whatever we want with our flag. It's the only restrictions we might run into are the provincial and federal flags. Right. So, but with our flag, I don't see it being an issue.
Okay, lowered Friday, raised on Monday. All right, folks, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously to lower the flags.
Yeah.
To staff for continuation of
My apologies. Yeah, just I wanted to apologize for throwing a curveball at you. This is obviously a fast kind of moving thing, and just wanted to bring it to council's attention. So I appreciate it, and certainly appreciate sympathies expressed, in light of that situation. So thank you.
Staff, did you have anything further to add to your report?
No, just to thank you. So yeah, all good.
Okay, thank you for the report from staff. All right, let's move on to the reports because we've handled those motions there. I so move that we accept the oral report for information. Second by Councillor Will. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously to accept the staff report for information. On to Councillor and Mayor reports. 14.1, Councillor Johnston is away with notice. Then on to 14.2, Councillor Rabble report. I would thank you to everyone involved. I do appreciate working with Duncan and staff and Mayor Beach on figuring out how to chair this meeting, and I do truly appreciate the opportunity to have to chair a meeting here. I'd like to welcome Justin as a new employee with the village, and I'm very thankful for them to join our team, so thank you very much there. I recently was able to attend the FCM conference in Edmonton, and it was a very productive thing. It's definitely a different one having the federal piece to it. I was hoping to see more provincial and federal representation, however there was some federal representation there. It was a lot of municipal leaders from across the country, and so we got a chance to meet with them and discuss all the issues at hand, various sessions and meetings, and there were 6 resolutions. And anyways, CN gave us an opportunity to tour their sites and their various rail yards, the Walker Rail Yard, and the hope from the conversations with CN is that the Carling Road crossing and the highway signalization lights be remediated as necessary so that traffic can flow over Carling Road and that the smashed signals on Highway 2 be removed. FCM was wonderful overall, and I do thank the village folks for allowing me attendance there. The other piece I'd like to mention is that Nanaimo Lanceville MLA George Anderson visited our village very recently, and I commend him on making the journey. I know that he was attending the Chamber of Commerce AGM Fort St. John, but he did make the trip down across the Taylor Bridge to visit us in our village and see the crosswalks that we all been working so diligently on, and him as well for his advocacy, Ministry of Transportation, and as his former role as Parliamentary Secretary of Transit. I'm very excited to see the Redwood Crossing, the school crossing move forward. I cannot wait to see those new signalized or button intersections come into fruition, and so that's greatly appreciated to spend some time with him. It shows that we do have some wonderful people in government. That's what I've got for my oral report, and so I will continue on with Councillor Wall.
Well, after, 9 months working with MLA Anderson?
Yes, that's September.
Since September, yeah, I think that's 9 months. 8 or 9 months working with MLA Anderson. He came to Pooskoopie to announce the approval of our 2 crosswalks, which I'm very, very excited about. And I want to thank him sincerely for coming and looking at that and making that announcement. And especially thank him for doing that as his last event, his last announcement as Parliamentary Secretary of Transit. He's moved on to energy. So he personally made the trip here to make that as his last engagement for transit.
Oh,
So I'm
I
very...
didn't know that he had shuffled.
Yeah, he did. He did that, well, it was announced the next morning. So, very, very excited about that. Makes a big difference to our community. I know there's bigger provincial projects going on, but our crosswalks mean a lot to us and our children's safety. So, very happy about that. Anyway, attended FCM as well with the mayor and Councillor Rabble. Great conversations with CN regarding the Carling Road crossing that Councillor mentioned, and the signalized lights that are inactive and broken and need to go. But one more thing with CN is their policy regarding rail easement maintenance. It is dependent on rail use in the last 12 calendar months. So they are going to look into that policy. And I feel like the issue that we've been having with them regarding the maintenance and the lawn mowing of that easement is it doesn't appear on their radar because there haven't been trains there in the last 12 months. So they're going to review that policy. That sounds like it might even go up to their board, or I don't know who it would go to, but someone higher than my pay grade. And they're going to look into that policy, and the mayor actually got a round of applause from the room when she was bringing some of these things up, and I think that worked out very well. Happy to meet some other counterparts, other municipalities, learned about what's going on, grant opportunities that may come into play regarding the Hart Hotel or the fire hall. Overall, I think it was well worth it. I wouldn't recommend going every year, but I think when there are transportation issues that involve federal government, like railway crossings, I think it was well worth it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wall. Councillor Whittle.
Yeah, so since I was at the last meeting, I attended NCLGA down in Prince George, majority of the rest of the council.
Was there a meeting between now and then?
There was, but I was away. I had some
okay.
admin numbers that were I had to deal with.
Oh, okay.
And then I was here for the crosswalk. As everybody's seen in my picture, and I've had a couple people mention to me I could have put on some clean pants. I literally came from work and showed up at the meeting and threw on my Village of Pooskoopie shirt. So if anybody was offended by the fact that I was dirty because I work for a living, I apologize. And this weekend, I'm gonna Shanghai one of my teenagers and drag him up to the village office, and we're gonna come help plant some trees this weekend to be able to say that, hey, you know what, 45, 50 years down the road when these trees are nice, or 30 years down the road when these trees are nice and big, you know, he can sit back and tell his kids that he helped plant those trees in Pooskoopie, and, you know, it's good for young people to be able to do some good for the community. So, I'm gonna drag him up with me this weekend, and yeah, actually really looking forward to putting those trees and being able to see the long-term growth within our community, because it brings back to, you know, kind of an analogy. It looks like council when we're sitting here looking at what we do, and we're planning today for what we want to see the future look like and what we want to see the community look like. It's no different than planting those little trees, right? And we just watch our ideas and watch our stuff grow. No different than we'll be able to watch those little trees grow over the next, you know, how many years, right, to improve our community. So, yeah, kind of cool and a philosophical way to be involved with that as well. Yeah, and that's about all I got.
Wise men plant trees, the shade of which they'll never see. Exactly. So I do apologize, folks, this is egregious. I forgot an item from my report, so I'd like to quickly mention that while I have the opportunity.
Egregious.
Admonish me, yeah. In speaking and seeing that the Pembina Pooskoopi Limited pipeline has been proposed and approved by the Energy Regulator of Canada, in discussion, I would like to put the resolution forward that Council authorize the Mayor and CAO to engage with Pembina and related corporate entities, I think it's the Pooskoopi Pipeline Limited Company, etc., to engage with them regarding community impacts and benefits. Do I have a second? Councillor Wall, Councillor Whittle for discussion.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to ask, but looking at the proposed route, even though it's the Pooskoopi pipeline, it's more Pooskoopi because it crosses the Pooskoopi River, and it doesn't actually come into Pooskoopi's boundaries or fire protection area in any way, shape, or form. So it doesn't hurt to ask, but I wouldn't necessarily hold our breath on getting anything out of it because it doesn't directly come through our fire protection area or through our municipal area. Right? It all stays on the other side of the creek.
Recognizing Councillor Wall.
I also forgot to put this in my report. I do think it's important that staff or the mayor or someone engage with them anyways. Because at FCM, they had I saw a map of the first interprovincial pipeline approval in a long time, because it becomes a federal responsibility, and that is ours. Some of the maps were different. I'm curious which one it is, because I've since seen one that shows it a little further away from town, and previously I've seen one that's a little bit closer to town, which would be within our fire protection area. So I'm curious on the route, like specifically where it's going to go. But
It doesn't hurt to engage it.
it does. I don't think it would hurt to engage on that front.
Okay, so I'm.
Or if they want to donate to a park.
All right. Response from staff.
Yeah, we can get more information on that. I've seen, like, the resources that I've seen online didn't exactly look, like they looked kind of drawn, like much less, mapped out precisely. So, yeah, we can gather more information on that and share it with council.
So, any further discussion on this motion? Okay. Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to authorize the mayor and CEO to engage with Pembina and Pooskoopi Pipeline Limited and all other related companies on behalf of the village of Pooskoopi to discuss the community impacts and benefits. Okay, all those in favor? Perfect. Okay. All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
I like how you point to the empty chairs for opposed.
I'm tempted to raise my hand.
It's a Robert's Rules thing. I was looking this up, and I know it's kind of niche, but
You're supposed to say all those opposed when no one's.
I think it's a legislative thing. Anyways, it was kind of a nerd out. I was talking actually with Duncan about this Community Charter Section 4 voting rules. I think it's something in there that kind of flows down from it. I don't know if I'm correct on that, Duncan, but.
Beg your pardon, folks, it's spaced out a little bit. Is the question, why does Kurt have to ask for opposed after everybody's in favor?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it seems a little bit redundant, but the charter does require that, those in favor, those opposed, etc.
What happens if we vote twice?
Yeah. Pardon me?
What happens if we vote twice?
That's also unsurprisingly covered by the community charter.
What happens?
I want my neutral noted.
Is it
No, your yes and your no voted. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Steph. All right. So moving on. Thank you for all the reports, folks. 15, question period. Unfortunately, there's nobody from the public here, so there's nobody to recognize. In the future, when we have folks from the public, this would be their opportunity to ask us questions. And keep us in check and voice any concerns or opinions they may have about the community and other items on the agenda. All right, item 16, in camera as per section 91 of the Community Charter.
I make the motion that we go to in camera for section 91, C, E, I, and K of the Community Charter.
Okay, Recognizing Councilor Wall moves, Whittle seconds. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, we move to in camera as per section 91C.
That would be that guy who didn't ask for